As someone who is considered Gen Z, I feel as if there's a slight stigma to that. Older generations refer to us as lazy and always on our phones. Even though that last part might be true, it's actually a good thing we're always on our phones. Because we grew up when technology was really advancing, we've been able to stay more connected. We are able to communicate with people from all over the country and all over the world with social media and platforms we are involved in. Although it may seem like we're only posting pictures of our best times and sharing pointless videos, we are preparing ourselves for our professional futures when we all get jobs. With all of that being said, our generation seems to be the most tech savvy. We grew up learning how to use Microsoft Office, Google Drive, and other computer extensions. We did not have to learn these things at a later time in our lives.
As we are the new generation, one of the primary benefits of working with us is that we use technology like it's second nature. We can easily connect with people through it, which tends to make us more suitable when it comes to networking. A key thing to note is that we are a generation who can understand the value and importance of face-to-face communication. Even though we did grow up during a time where technology was constantly improving, and still is, people tend to believe that our generation loses sight of how important it is to be physically present as well, but we completely understand that.
Another competitive edge that I think Generation Z has, as opposed to different generations, is that we were digitally native, meaning we were born into the cell phone, laptop, computer era, and from birth, we learn to use these devices to our advantage. For example, learning a new language at the age of an infant as opposed to a 30-year-old man, gonna come a lot easier to that child. And then he can only expand his vocabulary from there. And I think that's how it is for the Generation Z people with technology. We started at birth with these things, and we're only expanding our knowledge, especially as advances continue.
One of the greatest traits I believe my generation has is being digital natives and vloggers. I grew up with social media, and I always find myself engaged. I feel as if there are many positives and negatives to social media. A positive being that we can always learn about current events, but a negative is that we may find ourselves overly consumed in social media and trying to learn about what is relevant and what the celebrities are up to. One of the greatest benefits I feel as if our generation has is growing up with technology. Therefore, we are skilled in how to use it, and we sometimes find ourselves helping older generations learn how to use it.
Our generation has always been very technology based. We use it as one of our main resources. For example, me personally, for instance, if I'm working on a homework assignment and I don't understand a concept, I'm going to go online, I'm going to look up a video on how to understand it. If I don't understand it after that video, I'm going to maybe go to another resource online, like an article, a different video, different website, which I think is very beneficial. Since the beginning, our generation has really learned technology since day one, and it has become an actual part of us, which I think is different than the previous generations because they either had to learn the technology on their own or they had to go into the workforce and be hired and be taught it, which I think overall makes our generation more prepared and ready for the real world and real situations.
So the packaging industry of this generation has a lot of opportunity for changing and improving things because of the skills that we have that the older generations may not. A few examples of those are technology. We basically grew up using the internet, so we kind of have a good understanding about how all of them work and how to use computers and how to problem solve on computers and things like that.
There's three key traits I think that come to mind when talking about Generation Z and giving us a competitive edge in the packaging industry. One being that we're pragmatic. I think growing up in the early 2000s recession kind of created an interdependency amongst all of us to survive. And I think that will help us excel when we are actually in an environment where we're working as a team and working towards a similar goal.
Matt Dingy brought up the fact that our generation watched our families go through the 2008 recession where many jobs were lost and everybody went through hard times. The very first thing that we were told in our packaging classes was the job placement after college was around 97%. That is a very promising percentage, and it makes us feel secure. I believe that the reason that there is such a high job placement percentage after college is because companies are finally realizing that packaging is a huge marketing aspect and that their company can greatly profit from packaging engineers.
Along with that, our generation isn't really that nervous about getting a job compared to other majors in college. There's a really high employment rate because it's like this, I feel like it's a big industry that's coming up. And so we have a lot of job security in that aspect. Along with that, people are finally getting to know more about what packaging is and how it can benefit their company and their products and their sales. And that means we have more of an opportunity to change the industry.
We have the ability to improve the industry. Many companies have not considered investing their money in a packaging department. However, with all of the recent innovations in packaging created by packaging professionals, we have a chance to reach out to companies and use new innovations as references to what we are capable of. And even companies who created revolutionary packaging and don't have a packaging department should also invest in a packaging department to maintain their constant innovative stance in the packaging industry.
Michigan State provides us with the best packaging program in the nation, and they have been doing a great job of preparing us for the professional world. Personally, I know that MSU did not offer the packaging seminar that I am currently taking because my older sister, who is a millennial, did not know what I was talking about when I asked her about it. This course has allowed us to write and rewrite our resumes and introduced us to cover letters. On top of all of that, we were taught how to appropriately shake people's hands, introduce people in higher positions, and dinner etiquette. This course has not only taught us how to act professional and appear professional, but we had MSU packaging alumni come and tell us about their experiences in and after college, what to expect when entering the professional world, and some advice they wish they had known when entering the workforce.
Along with a required class we have to take is Packaging 102. And so I feel like this gives us more of an advantage because some people go into the industry without really knowing much about what the actual industry is like. And with Packaging 102, we get help on our resumes, a cover letter, and we also learn dinner etiquette, which I think is really important that a lot of kids may not know from just experience, because like a lot of kids don't really experience a lot of business dinner things before they actually go. So it's really nice that we have that class so we can learn that ahead of time and practice it a little bit.
And that separates our generation from other generations is that we are constantly working in groups. Almost throughout my whole schooling career, I've had to do some type of group work in almost every single class, which is very relatable to the real world because you have to understand what role you are in. You have to work well with others, which is what basically the real world is all about, and you have to fill those roles successfully.
Even though we grew up in a world that was advancing in technology, we were also aware of our depleting environment. The focus shift from the hole in the ozone layer to global warming to the pollution in the oceans happened while we were growing up and entering the phase in our lives where we were very impressionable. Personally, I took a class in high school that talked all about environmental science and how humans are hurting our planet. As a packaging major, a main goal of mine is to try to reduce the amount of plastic we use or to only use recyclable plastic. Eliminating all plastic in the world is a pipe dream, but realizing that there is a problem is the first step into repairing our environment.
I feel like this generation is a lot more concerned about the environment and sustainability compared to previous generations. I feel like we're a lot more informed, and there's a lot of companies that are really pushing for that change now, like if that's adding more recycled materials into things or adding like less plastic and more recycling things.
When talking about the different strengths that Generation Z people have, I think one is that we're cause-oriented. With technology advancing and information being so readily available, I think it's created a greater sense of social awareness and environmental awareness that older generations may not have dealt with. If we can relate to these different issues as a team, I think we would be able to push products easier and bring that younger aspect to a team where maybe a baby boomer would not care or understand about different social issues that are going on now.
Environment. We're a generation who can adjust to fast-paced environments in corporate world because we have endured so many changes and and movements during our time.
Every generation is a trial and error. We are constantly figuring out what teaching methods work and what methods don't. And with technology becoming more advanced, things are constantly changing. Every generation to come is going to be able to bring more to the workforce than generations before them. Learning how to work with them and how to capitalize on their strengths is the best way to make the workforce a better and more efficient place.